She overheard them talking, and it changed everything. Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now, let's get started. The scent of antiseptic filled the air as Emma Carter walked through the brightly lit halls of Riverside Memorial Hospital. The rhythmic beeping of monitors and hushed voices of nurses blended into the background, but she barely noticed them. Today was supposed to be a joyful day. Her sister Sophia had just given birth, and Emma had rushed to the hospital to see her and the baby. She clutched the small gift bag in her hands, filled with tiny baby clothes she had carefully chosen. But just as she turned a corner, a familiar voice made her stop in her tracks. It was Daniel, her husband. She has no clue. His voice carried down the hallway, casual, amused. At least she's a good cash cow. Emma's breath hitched. A strange chill spread through her body. Then another voice, her mother's. "You two deserve happiness," her mother Margaret said softly. "She's just a useless failure." A light laugh followed. Emma's stomach churned. "Thanks, Mom," Sophia responded. "I'll make sure we're happy." Emma stood frozen, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She didn't need to hear more. The truth was laid bare before her, suffocating and cruel. Her husband, her sister, her mother, all of them betraying her. For a moment, she considered barging into the room, demanding answers, screaming, crying. But instead, she forced herself to turn around, her hands clenched into fists, her nails digging into her palms. But as she took a step away, an idea sparked in her mind, one that would change everything. They thought she was clueless. They were wrong. A life that was never hers. Emma Carter sat in her sleek, modern office, high above the bustling city below. The Chicago skyline stretched endlessly outside her window, but today, its usual beauty did nothing to lift her spirits. Her planner lay open on the desk, scattered with appointment reminders and invoices, but her eyes were locked onto just one thing: a medical bill. The latest charge from the Horizon Fertility Clinic was printed in bold, unforgiving numbers. Emma ran a hand over her face, exhaling shakily. Here we go again. For 5 years, she had fought this battle. Endless injections, hormone treatments, procedures, consultations. And yet, every month, the same result. Nothing. Her gaze shifted to the wedding photo beside her laptop. A frozen moment of happiness. Daniel, her husband, holding her close, his eyes filled with love. Or at least, what she thought was love. Lately, something had changed. The warmth in his voice had faded. The way he held her felt different, distant. And now, after what she had just overheard at the hospital, she clenched her jaw and looked away. That evening, Emma sat across from Daniel at their dining table, pushing her food around on her plate. The warm glow of their apartment lights did nothing to ease the unease curling in her stomach. "The fertility treatment costs have gone up again," she said carefully. "More of it isn't covered by insurance now." Daniel paused, setting down his chopsticks. He reached for his glass of red wine and took a slow sip. "It's okay," he said smoothly. "We'll manage." Emma studied him. His voice was calm, reassuring, but something about it felt off. "Really?" she asked. "Because our joint account balance keeps dropping, and not just from the fertility treatments." A flicker of something crossed Daniel's face. "Just business expenses," he answered too quickly. "I had to make some upfront investments to close big deals. Don't worry about it." Emma's stomach twisted. Lies. Every word felt rehearsed, carefully chosen. Before she could press further, her phone buzzed. Her sister Sophia's name flashed on the screen. Emma hesitated before answering. "Hey, can you talk right now?" Sophia's voice trembled with excitement. "What's going on?" Emma asked, pushing back from the table and stepping into the kitchen. "You might not believe this, but I'm pregnant." The world tilted. Emma gripped the edge of the counter, struggling to steady her breathing. "What?" she whispered. "Yeah, I just found out." Sophia's voice was filled with joy. "Isn't it amazing?" A tightness wrapped around Emma's chest. After years of struggling, spending thousands of dollars, undergoing painful procedures, her sister had gotten pregnant so easily. "How far along are you?" Emma asked, forcing her voice to stay neutral. "Oh, just a few months," Sophia replied vaguely. "A red flag. And the father?" Emma asked, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. There was a pause. I can't say right now," Sophia admitted, lowering her voice. "It's complicated." Emma swallowed hard. A heavy silence stretched between them. "Mom and Dad know?" she finally asked. "Yeah, I just told them," Sophia said happily. They were so excited, especially Mom. Of course she was. "Anyway, we're having a small celebration at their place on Saturday. You and Daniel should come," Sophia chirped. Emma forced a smile into her voice. "Of course. We'll be there." But as she ended the call and sank onto the cold kitchen floor, she knew one thing for sure. Something was very, very wrong. A celebration that felt like a funeral. Saturday arrived too soon. The air was crisp, the scent of autumn leaves filling the streets as Emma Carter and Daniel drove to her parents' house. Despite the warmth of the setting sun, an unsettling chill settled deep in her bones. She should have been happy. A new life was entering the family, a niece or nephew to spoil and love. But something felt off, like a puzzle with pieces that didn't quite fit. As they pulled in the driveway, Emma took a deep breath and forced a smile. Play along. Act normal. Don't let them see the cracks. Inside, the house was filled with laughter. Her mother, Margaret, hovered over Sophia, hands placed tenderly on her stomach, her eyes misty with joy. "Our first grandchild," Margaret whispered, her voice trembling. Their father, Richard, usually strict and reserved, smiled in a way Emma had never seen before. A softness in his expression that she had never once received from him. Emma stood at the edge of the room, gripping a glass of wine she had no intention of drinking. Would they ever be this happy for me? Would they celebrate her pregnancy with this same enthusiasm, with the same unconditional love? The answer sat like a stone in her throat. Beside her, Daniel was restless. His leg bounced slightly, and he kept glancing at his phone before excusing himself to step outside. "Work," he muttered when Emma looked at him questioningly. But a cold unease spread through her chest. Something was wrong, very wrong. Her mother turned to her with a bright, expectant smile. "Isn't this wonderful, Emma? A baby in the family at last." Emma forced a nod. At last. As if she hadn't spent years tearing herself apart, trying to give them this moment. She sipped her wine just to keep from saying something she'd regret. When they finally left that night, Emma didn't say a word to Daniel on the drive home. But the moment they stepped inside, she did what she never did. She went straight to their bedroom, grabbed her laptop, and logged into their joint bank account. And just like that, the last piece of the puzzle slid into place. The balance had dropped again. More withdrawals. Large ones. And the dates lined up too perfectly with Sophia's medical appointments. Her hands trembled as she closed the laptop. Daniel's late nights. The constant excuses. The distance. The lies. And now, her fertility treatment money was disappearing. Emma felt a slow, sickening dread settle in her stomach. Something was being hidden from her, and she was going to find out exactly what. The night everything changed. The phone rang in the dead of night, its shrill tone slicing through the silence. Emma groggily reached for it, her fingers fumbling as she glanced at the glowing numbers on the clock. 2:37 a.m. Her mother's voice burst through the speaker, breathless and excited. "Emma, Sophia's in labor. We're at Riverside Memorial Hospital. The baby's coming." Emma sat up abruptly. The hospital? Her mind was still foggy with sleep, but one thought quickly snapped her awake. Daniel. She turned to his side of the bed. Empty. Her pulse quickened. "Where's Daniel?" she asked, her voice sharper than intended. A hesitation. Then her mother answered, "I don't know. He's probably working late." A lie. She knew. Emma's fingers tightened around the phone, but she forced her voice to remain calm. "I'll be there in the morning." The moment she hung up, she swung her legs over the bed, her heart pounding in her ears. The apartment was eerily quiet. No text messages from Daniel. His coat still hung by the door untouched. Emma closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. Stay calm. For months, his excuses had become routine. Late meetings, business trips, client dinners. But tonight, she could feel the truth pressing down on her, suffocating. She wasn't even sure why, but she grabbed her keys and left. By the time she pulled into the hospital parking lot, the first hints of dawn were creeping over the horizon. But Emma barely noticed, because her gaze had locked onto something else. A black sedan. Daniel's black sedan. Her stomach twisted. He'd been here all night. No messages. No calls. Nothing. Swallowing the lump in her throat, she hurried inside, her heels clicking against the cold tile floor. "Maternity ward?" she asked the receptionist, who quickly pointed her down a long hallway. She moved on instinct, her mind a blur. The pale green walls, the beeping monitors, it all reminded her of the fertility clinics she had spent years in. But this time, she wasn't here for herself. And then, she heard it. A voice. His voice. She has no idea. At least she's a good cash cow. Emma froze mid-step. The world tilted beneath her. Her breath hitched as she pressed herself against the wall, heart hammering in her chest. Daniel. And then, her mother. "You two deserve happiness. She's just a useless failure." Emma clutched her stomach, ball rising in her throat. No. No, no, no. Thanks, Mom. Sophia's voice was filled with triumph. "I'll make sure we're happy." Emma squeezed her eyes shut, begging to wake up from this nightmare. But then, her mother spoke again, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "The baby really looks like Daniel." A sharp, stabbing pain shot through Emma's chest. No, no, no. Her legs threatened to give out beneath her. But she had to keep listening, because what came next shattered every last piece of her soul. "We don't even need a DNA test," Daniel said casually. "The baby is definitely mine." The room spun. Emma gripped the wall, gasping for breath. Everything, every suspicion, every unease. It was all true. Her sister's mysterious pregnancy. Her husband's late nights. Missing money, distant behavior. Her mother's strange enthusiasm. This wasn't just an affair. It was a betrayal of the worst kind. The air in the hospital suddenly felt suffocating, but Emma forced herself to stay still. Because now she had one goal. With trembling hands, she reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, and hit record. If they thought she would break quietly, they were dead wrong. The final blow. Emma's fingers trembled as she held the phone, the recording app capturing every venomous word spilling from their mouths. "How do you plan to explain this to Emma?" her mother asked. A sharp exhale, then Sophia's voice, casual and cruel. "She doesn't need to know anything." Emma clenched her jaw. "If she found out her fertility treatment money was actually paying for my delivery expenses, she'd go crazy." Daniel chuckled. "She hasn't noticed. I've been withdrawing bit by bit from our joint account. She's always busy with work. She doesn't even pay attention." Emma's vision blurred with rage. They used her. They used her for money, for convenience, for their own twisted version of happiness. But what if she finds out? Sophia asked, a note of worry in her voice. Their mother scoffed. "She won't. That girl is always focused on work. Family comes second to her. That's why we decided to create a real family. Daniel, you and the baby. That's our new family now." Emma gritted her teeth so hard her jaw ached. "In the end, she can't have children," her mother continued, almost dismissively. "Years of fertility treatments with no results. I wanted a grandchild to carry on the family name. And Daniel has wonderful genes. A child from you two is a gift Emma could never give." A cold, bitter laugh. "Sophia, when I started my relationship with Daniel, I never thought it would come to this." A pause, then a satisfied sigh. "But now I'm glad. I have what Emma never could." Emma's breath shook. Her hands felt numb. This wasn't just betrayal. This was planned, orchestrated. Her own mother, her husband, and her sister had stripped her of everything. Her trust, her love, even her right to a future family. A wave of nausea hit her. She couldn't stay here. With one final, steadying breath, she ended the recording, slid the phone into her pocket, and turned away. As she walked back down the hallway, her mind was eerily calm. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Instead, a new emotion took root. Rage, not the kind that burned out quickly, leaving behind nothing but ashes. No, this was something else. Something cold, calculated, Deadly. By the time she stepped into the parking lot, the first rays of morning light touched her face. Emma Carter was no longer a victim. She was the storm, and they had no idea what was coming for them. The beginning of the end. The moment Emma stepped in her car, she locked the doors and placed both hands on the steering wheel, trying to steady her breathing. Her heart wasn't racing anymore. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. She was thinking. For the first time in months, maybe years, her mind was crystal clear. Her phone buzzed, shattering the silence. She pulled it from her pocket, glancing at the screen. "Dad." A bitter smile twisted her lips. She answered, "Emma, where are you? We're all waiting for you." "Sophia had her baby. It's a girl." Her father's voice carried the excitement of a man who had no idea he was living inside a lie. Emma exhaled slowly. Then, in the calmest voice she had ever used, she said, "I'm sorry, Dad. Something urgent came up at work. I won't be able to make it today." A pause. Then, confusion. "What?" "Emma, this is family. Is work more important than family?" Emma's grip on the phone tightened. "Yes, Dad," she said simply. "Sometimes work is more important than family, especially when family isn't really family." Silence. Her father inhaled sharply. "Emma, what are you saying?" But she had already hung up. She dropped the phone onto the passenger seat and turned the key in the ignition. Her mother, her husband, her sister. They thought they had one. They thought she was weak, that she would never find out, that she would break quietly when she did. They were wrong. As she drove home, a plan was already forming in her mind. They took everything from her. Now, she was going to take it all back. Every cent, every comfort, every ounce of stability they had built on her suffering. By the time she pulled into her apartment's parking lot, she knew exactly what she had to do. Her revenge wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be messy. It would be cold, precise, and absolute. And it would leave them with nothing. Gathering ammunition. Emma stepped into her apartment, shutting the door behind her with a quiet click. She didn't throw things. She didn't scream. She didn't let herself fall apart. Not yet. Instead, she moved with mechanical precision, grabbing a legal pad from her desk and flipping to a blank page. Step 1. Secure evidence. Her fingers hovered over her phone before she tapped on the recording. She replayed it, closing her eyes as the venomous words filled the room once more. "She has no idea. At least she's a good cash cow. We don't even need a DNA test. The baby is definitely mine. She can't have children. I want a grandchild, and Daniel has wonderful genes. When I started my relationship with Daniel, I never thought it would come to this. But now I'm glad. I have what Emma never could." She pressed save and immediately backed up the file to a hidden folder on her laptop and a USB drive. Step 2. Track the money. She opened her laptop and logged into the joint bank account she shared with Daniel. Every withdrawal, every unexplained transfer. Emma had ignored the red flags before. Not anymore. Her hand shook, not with sadness, but with fury as she pulled up the statements from the last 3 years. Tens of thousands of dollars. Gone. To private doctor's visits. To luxury shopping. To Sophia's apartment rent. To a hospital that wasn't even in their insurance network. Her fertility treatment money had been paying for Sophia's pregnancy all along. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. How poetic. She hit print. Page after page spilled from the printer, each one a nail in their coffin. Step 3. Contact a lawyer. Emma's eyes scanned through her phone contacts until she landed on a familiar name. Laura Bennett, a law school classmate, now a high-profile divorce attorney. Emma hit call. The phone rang twice before a sharp, professional voice answered. "Laura Bennett speaking." Emma took a steady breath. "Laura, it's Emma Carter. I need your help. Urgently." A pause. Then, Laura's tone shifted, serious. "What's going on?" Emma's nails dug into her palm. "I have proof my husband is cheating on me with my sister, and they've been stealing my money to fund her pregnancy." Silence. Then a low, deadly whisper. "Tell me everything." And so Emma did. She told Laura everything. The lies, the missing money, the hospital conversation she had recorded. When she finished, Laura exhaled sharply. "Emma, listen to me carefully. You're in an extremely strong legal position, not just for divorce, but for financial fraud. Emma's grip tightened on the phone. What do I do next? First, open a new bank account under your name only. Transfer your share of the joint funds before he can drain it. Second, start moving anything valuable, personal documents, jewelry, important files, to a safe location. Third, don't let them suspect anything. Emma's lips curled into a slow, dark smile. They wouldn't suspect a thing, because for the next few weeks, she was going to play the perfect wife. And when she was ready, she would burn their entire world to the ground. Playing the perfect wife. Emma had always been a perfectionist. She was the woman who met every deadline, who never showed weakness, who kept everything in her life meticulously organized. And now, she would use that skill against them. By morning, she had completed the first step. A new bank account, one that Daniel had no access to. She transferred her share of their joint funds before he could steal another dime. The second step came next. She spent the day moving her most valuable possessions to a secure storage unit across town. Important documents, personal items, jewelry, anything she wouldn't let them take from her. And the third? That one required acting. So, when Daniel finally walked through the door that evening, looking exhausted, or maybe just guilty, she greeted him with a soft smile. "Hey," she said, setting down her glass of wine. "You're home late." Daniel blinked, clearly expecting an argument. "Yeah, work was crazy today." "Liar." "Oh, I bet." Emma cooed, stepping forward. She reached up and smoothed his tie, letting her fingers brush against his collarbone. "You work so hard. I don't know what I'd do without you." His body relaxed. The suspicion in his eyes faded. "Good. Actually," she continued, "I was thinking maybe we should keep trying for a baby." Daniel froze. His glass of whiskey paused midair. "Really?" Emma nodded, tilting her head sweetly. "I know it's been tough, but I don't want to give up yet." She watched as panic flickered across his face. So brief, so subtle, but she caught it. He didn't want her to keep trying, because there was no need for Emma to have a baby when Sophia had already given him one. Checkmate. "You're right," Daniel finally said, forcing a smile. "We could try a little longer." Emma beamed. "Great. Oh, and I made your favorite for dinner, steak and garlic potatoes." Daniel exhaled, relieved. That night, they ate together. They laughed. Emma asked him about work, about his big deals, pretending to be the loving, supportive wife he had once tricked her into being. And the whole time, she was mentally filing away every new lie he told. The silent hunt. Emma Carter had always been patient. She had spent years tracking ovulation cycles, undergoing painful treatments, and meticulously planning for a future that was never hers to begin with. Now, she was tracking something else. Daniel's lies. Every morning, after he left for work, Emma got to work herself. She combed through bank statements, credit card transactions, and emails, piecing together a timeline of his deception. It was worse than she imagined. For the past 18 months, Daniel had been withdrawing thousands of dollars every month, some directly transferred to a separate account, others spent on luxury gifts, hospital bills, and apartment rent. Emma documented everything. Every receipt, every suspicious transaction, every detail that proved he had stolen from her to fund Sophia's pregnancy. She even found messages, deleted but recoverable, between Daniel and her mother. Margaret had been helping him hide it. She's too busy with work to notice anything. She won't suspect a thing. She trusts you. Once the baby arrives, we'll figure out how to move forward. She'll accept it eventually. Emma clenched her jaw. She would never accept it. This wasn't just an affair. This was a conspiracy against her, and she was going to destroy them for it. Recruiting an ally. Emma knew she couldn't do this alone. She needed someone who could tear them apart legally, financially, and socially. So, she called Laura Bennett, the best divorce attorney in the city. An hour later, they met at a quiet cafe downtown. Laura listened intently, flipping through the bank statements, the voice recording, and the recovered messages. When she finally looked up, her expression was deadly. "This isn't just a divorce case, Emma." Emma folded her arms. "I know. This is fraud, financial misconduct, emotional distress. We can go after him for everything." Emma's lips curled into a slow smile. "That's exactly what I want." Laura exhaled sharply. shaking her head. Your sister. Your own mother. This is beyond disgusting. Emma shrugged. They made their choice. Now, I'm making mine. Laura leaned forward, voice lowering. Listen to me carefully. You're in an extremely strong position, but we need to be smart. This will take at least a couple of months to prepare. Until then, Emma nodded. I need to act normal. Laura smirked. Exactly. Emma picked up her coffee, eyes gleaming with something cold and unforgiving. Then I'll give them the performance of a lifetime. The perfect illusion. For the next few weeks, Emma played the perfect wife. She made Daniel's favorite meals. She smiled when her mother called. She even sent a gift for Sophia's baby, a small, delicate silver rattle, just to keep up appearances. None of them suspected a thing. Meanwhile, she kept gathering evidence. She worked with Laura to build an airtight case, ensuring that when she finally struck, there would be no escape for any of them. And when Daniel told her he was going on a business trip for the weekend, Emma knew he was going to see Sophia and the baby. And that was exactly what she had been waiting for. Because while he was gone, she would disappear. And when he came home, he'd return to an empty apartment and divorce papers waiting on the table. The vanishing act. The moment Daniel left for his so-called business trip, Emma put her plan into motion. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment. While he was off playing house with her sister and their stolen life, Emma packed the last of her things into a moving van. Not just clothes and essentials, everything that was hers. Furniture she had bought, gone. Art pieces she had collected over the years, gone. Anything sentimental, taken. By the time she was done, the once cozy apartment looked empty. As hollow as her marriage had become, she left behind only one thing. A brown envelope sitting on the dining table, addressed in elegant script. Daniel Reynolds. Inside, divorce papers, bank statements proving his theft, printed transcripts of his messages with Sophia and Margaret, and a neatly labeled USB drive containing the recorded conversation from the hospital. The final piece of the puzzle? A handwritten note, simple but cutting. Daniel, you lied. You stole. You built a life behind my back with my own flesh and blood. Now you get to keep it. But don't worry, I've taken what's mine. Enjoy your new family. You'll need to, because soon you'll have nothing else. Emma. With one last glance around the apartment, Emma exhaled slowly. She wasn't sad. She wasn't scared. She was free. Then, she walked out, locking the door one final time. The moment of realization. 3 days later, Daniel returned home. Tired, annoyed, oblivious. He unlocked the door and stepped inside, expecting the familiar warmth of their apartment. Instead, he was met with emptiness. His breath caught in his throat. Everything was gone. His eyes landed on the envelope sitting on the dining table. With shaking hands, he ripped it open. As he read through the divorce papers, the bank statements, and the printed messages, his skin turned cold. Then he saw the USB drive. His stomach dropped. Fumbling, he rushed to his laptop, plugged it in, and clicked on the audio file. And then, his own voice filled the room. She has no idea. At least she's a good cash cow. We don't even need a DNA test. The baby is definitely mine. She can't have children. I wanted a grandchild, and Daniel has wonderful genes. His own words, so smug, so sure, now sealing his fate. By the time the recording ended, Daniel was shaking. He gripped the table, his mind racing. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just a breakup. This was war, and he had already lost. The fallout. Daniel tried to call Emma. Straight to voicemail. He called again. And again. Nothing. Frantic, he called his mother-in-law. Margaret answered on the first ring. Daniel? What's wrong? His voice was raw. She knows. A sharp intake of breath. What? She knows, Margaret, he snapped. She left. She took everything. She divorced me. Silence. Then, his mother-in-law's voice wavered. Oh God. The fallout was immediate. Emma's legal team moved fast. Daniel wasn't just served divorce papers. He was hit with legal action for financial fraud. His real estate firm found out about his misuse of joint funds. He was fired. Without his job, without access to Emma's money, and with a baby to take care of, his world crumbled overnight. Meanwhile, Margaret's social circle turned against her. Once word spread about what she had done, the invites stopped. The fancy dinner parties, the charity events, the book clubs gone. Even Richard, Emma's father, found out the truth. And he left her. Margaret went from the respected matriarch of the Carter family to a pariah in her own home. Sophia? Her perfect life with Daniel didn't last. With the stress of legal battles, no money, and a broken reputation, Daniel and Sophia began to unravel. Within 6 months, he walked out on her too, leaving her alone with a baby and nothing else. And Emma? She thrived. She rebuilt her career, started a successful consulting firm, and even found love again. She had lost everything once. But in the end, she came out stronger than ever. Epilogue, a new beginning. 1 year later, Emma sat in a cozy cafe, a cup of coffee warming her hands. Across from her sat her father, Richard, smiling softly. "You look happy," he said. Emma met his gaze and smiled. "I am." Outside, the autumn leaves drifted through the air, just like they had on the night she learned the truth. Only this time, she wasn't falling apart. She was whole. The pain, the betrayal, it was all behind her now, because in the end, they didn't break her. They freed her, and she would never let anyone take that from her again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.